Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. So today we're looking at a pretty dark reality that's hiding right behind a beloved global tradition. We're unpacking the breaking, honestly deeply compelling story of a massive fireworks factory explosion that recently sent shockwaves through China's Hunan province. We're going to break down the facts, understand the context, and look at the hidden history behind the headlines to see exactly what went wrong here. But first, I want to start by asking you to think about this directly. Where do the fireworks for your favorite celebrations actually come from? Whether we're watching a massive New Year's Eve countdown or just hanging out at a local summer festival, we mostly just see the beautiful lights painting the sky, right? We admire the colors and the whole spectacle of it all. But there is a real-life story hiding right behind those lights, and as we're going to see today, it involves a reality that is far more dangerous than literally anything you might see in an action movie.
Okay, let's dive into this, because there's just this stark contrast between what we pay for and how it's actually made. On one hand, you have the consumer view. This is what we expect: joyful celebrations, beautiful lights, a real sense of wonder. But contrast that with the production reality. The truth is, creating those magical moments requires massive, and I mean massive quantities of gunpowder, highly volatile chemicals kept under immense pressure, and extreme explosive risks. It's an industry built entirely around harnessing destruction.
To really wrap our heads around how a disaster like this even happens, you first have to understand the specific location. We're talking about Hunan, and this isn't just any province in China, it's universally recognized as the fireworks capital of the entire world. For centuries, this specific region has been the pulsing heart of the global industry. They produce almost everything that lights up our night skies across the globe. It's a place with a super rich history of craftsmanship, sure, but there is a distinct, very dark reality to being the world's primary supplier of explosives.
And, well, that brings us to the event itself, which state media has officially labeled a tragedy. According to the reports, a massive explosion completely tore through a factory right in the heart of this region. Try to imagine the sheer suddenness of this. 1 minute, it's a completely normal workday, and the next, absolute chaos in a matter of seconds. We are talking about a modern factory, a facility that's supposedly operating under incredibly strict safety regulations, just simply vanishing in a catastrophic ball of fire.
Now, what's really interesting about these witness accounts is how they capture the truly terrifying sensory experience of it all. People on the ground describe the sound as being so incredibly loud that it actually felt like an earthquake rolling through the area. Plumes of thick smoke were pushed so high into the atmosphere that they were clearly visible for miles in literally every direction. It really highlights just how massive the scale of this blast was for anyone caught anywhere near the radius.
So how does something like this actually unfold? Well, in an industry dealing intimately with gunpowder and high-pressure chemicals, the margins for error are virtually non-existent. Disaster doesn't always require some massive mechanical failure. A single rogue spark, a tiny lapse in a storage protocol, or a minor error in handling chemical instability can instantly trigger an unstoppable chain reaction.
And this brilliantly illustrates the dangerous systemic tension at play here: global demand pressure versus sacrificed safety. Think about it. The entire world constantly wants more fireworks, creating this immense, unrelenting pressure on these specific factories in Hunan. It really begs the critical question: was this explosion just a total freak accident, or is it the direct result of corners being cut and protocols being willfully ignored just to meet massive global quotas? Because when production ramps up rapidly, safety is very often the very first thing to get sacrificed.
Now, what adds a super thick layer of mystery to the whole shebang is the information blackout that inevitably follows. As highlighted by our source material, uncovering the quote-unquote full truth in sensitive industrial zones is incredibly difficult. In fact, it's even been compared to notoriously secretive subjects like the Bermuda Triangle or Area 51. When a disaster of this absolute magnitude strikes an economically vital and sensitive zone, getting clear, unfiltered facts from the ground becomes an immense challenge, leaving us to piece together the reality from the fragments that do manage to make it out.
Let's move forward and see how this builds, because the aftermath unfolded rapidly. On day 1, the explosion triggered absolute chaos and unprecedented destruction across the facility. By day 2, we saw rescue teams deployed, working heroically against incredibly steep odds to find any survivors in the rubble, which is a nearly impossible mission given the total devastation of the blast. And then by day 3, the official response shifted. The government officially launched a direct investigation into the managers, what state media refers to as the masterminds behind the facility, to determine exactly who was responsible.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Every time we see those beautiful colors burst in the sky, there's this whole hidden world of risk, hard work, and sometimes immense tragedy happening behind the scenes that we rarely ever hear about. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. Is our massive global demand for fireworks making these factories inherently too dangerous to operate safely? Or was this Hunan blast just a tragic one-off accident? It's an absolutely vital question about the true cost of the celebrations we so often take for granted. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it brought some real clarity to a super complex issue. And as always, I encourage you to keep questioning the world around you